Hey booktube, it's Tara, and I am doing my November 2020 wrap up. I want to go over some housekeeping though first. I was inspired by Belinda over at Belinda's Book Nook when she spoke about in one of her videos doing Friday Reads videos and then following up with a monthly wrap up, and how the monthly wrap up is no more than a repeat of basically all of the Friday Reads videos that you've done that month. And valid point, I felt the same way for a long time. Belinda chose to add a surprise book into her monthly wrap-ups just to kind of break up the monotony, and I feel like what I'm going to do moving forward, hopefully if I can stick to a schedule, is instead of doing Friday Reads every single Friday, which is what I did in the very beginning of my booktube journey, I feel like I will probably try and do 2 a month, so maybe 1 every other week. And that way when I do the wrap up at the end of the month, it won't necessarily be a repeat of all the books, but maybe just half, and then the other half will be books that I haven't yet talked about on my channel. So I think I'm going to try that format to see how that goes. Also, I never really spoke about it in prior videos, but I do leave timestamps in the description box in my videos so that if you want to skip ahead to a certain topic or book, you have that option as well. And I do that as a matter of convenience because I appreciate when other creators do that with their videos. So on to November. I only read 6 books in November, and 2 of which were nonfiction. So I loosely participated in the nonfiction November. I didn't follow the prompts or anything of that nature. But no, I read 3 nonfiction books in November. So 50-50, 50% nonfiction, 50% fiction. I had 1 3-star read. I had 2 4-star reads and 3 5-star reads. So the first book I finished in November is a book called Short Stories, the autobiography of Columbus Short. Now, Columbus Short is an actor, African-American. You may know him from Scandal. You may know him from the movie Stomp the Yard. But in this very, very short memoir, he talks about his life. He talks about his sort of rough upbringing in life, how he manifested some amazing opportunities throughout his life, throughout his career. The stories were short. They were very engaging. The drama, I guess, or the scandal that went down with Scandal when he was allegedly fired from the TV show. We get his side of the story of what really happened. There was nothing truly bad about this short autobiography. He did seem to have a string of bad luck that seemed to follow him throughout his life when things would, happen that would be going his way and would be putting him on a trajectory that he felt he was on the come up. It felt like, something would knock him back down. The ugly part of this book is when he talked about his relationship with that girl, and that's what he calls her in the book. We never get her name. It was a lot. It was a lot. It was a very drama-filled, combative, tumultuous relationship that he had with this woman. And throughout, I was thinking, why do you keep going back to her? I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. But that would be the only, I guess, ugly part of his autobiography. But overall, 3 stars, 3.5. It was good. The next book I finished, which was my 4-star read, was called The Faceless Old Woman Who Secretly Lives in Your Home. This, I felt, was supposed to be a part of the horror genre. However, the writing style is so contemporary and so funny, relatable in the beginning, that I felt like this isn't horror at all. Very engaging though in the beginning. It follows 2 timelines. One kind of present day, not necessarily the year 2020, but you know, this century, the 20th century. And the other follows a timeline back in the 1800s. And that was a little bit less engaging than the current. But overall, like I said, I gave this book 4 stars. The blurb on this book is, according to the synopsis, it is part The Haunting of Hill House and part The Count of Monte Cristo. Now, neither one of those books I've ever read, so I can't attest to whether or not, you know, it follows the premise, but I enjoyed it. I felt that it was a tad bit confusing because it does jump back and forth between the 2 timelines, not in a seamless way, and it creates some confusion until you catch on to what's really going on. And once you get toward the end of the novel, you figure out who the faceless old woman is that lives in your home, and I guess the paranormal magic system, you know, that created this character. So again, it was 4 stars, but you really have to pay attention to what you're reading, and you really have to kind of try to follow, again, jumping between the dual timelines. My next 4-star read for the month of November was Alyssa Cole's book, When No One Is Watching. And this is a very popular book on BookTube. It seems like everyone has read it. It is a part of the thriller genre. And Alyssa Cole does an excellent job in this novel of identifying covert racism. And you are following the storyline of what is happening to all of the Black people in this Brooklyn neighborhood that is being gentrified. It is very reminiscent of the movie Get Out, if you've ever seen it. Not necessarily in the same vein like of what happened in Get Out, but just kind of that same eerie feel, what's happening to the Black people. It was engaging from beginning to end. The ending fell a little flat for me, but overall it was a very good book, written in a very contemporary style, easy to follow, very relatable, especially since I am a Black woman. You know, I see the covert racism for what it is, and so I enjoyed it. So on to my 5-star reads. The first 5-star read I have for the month of November is a book called Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is a fantasy, maybe sci-fi novel. I'm not good at genres, but this is the first of a trilogy, and I had absolutely no idea what this book was about when I picked it up. I went into it completely blind based on the cover alone. It says, and I quote, "A God will return when the earth and sky converge under the black sun." It follows 4 different POVs in this story, 2 of which I remember. The other 2, the stories didn't engage me, so I barely remember what they were about. But the main 2 characters that I followed and remember are Serapio, and he's a young boy whose mother, in a scarification ritual, prepared him to be the next sun god of the land of Tova. I hope I have that right. And then there's another storyline following a Teak, and a Teak is a siren in this novel by the name of Ziala, and she has these magical abilities to talk to the waters, calm the waters, and to make men bend to her will, I think telepathically. So the story, it weaves like magic, adventure, prophecy. It was really a very epic fantasy ride that was well told, well done, very engaging, very exciting. It built this world that, and the thing about fantasy novels, I'm going to digress for just a second, is that a lot of times the authors will build worlds that are so unfamiliar and so unlike our real or modern world that it's hard to wrap our brains around, my brain specifically, around the characters' names because they're so different. The lands, the name of the lands, the magic system that's developed, the cultures, you know, it's like it's like learning a new language and putting yourself into a whole nother land and having to learn that land and the layout of it, and you know, then you become vested and, you know, so on and so forth. But this was my first book by this author, Rebecca Roanhorse, and like I said earlier, I think this is the first of a trilogy that she's going to do. It was absolutely amazing once I was able to follow the story, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. 5 stars all the way. I don't know that fantasy is necessarily one of my favorite genres, but reading books like these makes me want to say that, oh, I want to move forward and read more fantasy novels. Again, they're hard to get into because of the world building, but you know, once you get past that, 5 stars, you should read it. So my last 2 5-star books, first one I'll talk about is The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Bessel Van Der Kolk. This book focuses on trauma and how trauma changes the brain. Now, it's a little heavy on the PTSD aspect and how a lot of people or veterans that suffer from that, basically what it is, how it affects the body, because once your brain has become rewired in a sense, you can literally create illnesses within your body unbeknownst to you. You know, you end up with ulcers or even cancers or tumors or something that have been created because of the trauma that you have experienced in your life. And not just on the level of PTSD, even though, like I said, it's kind of heavy on that aspect, but he also focuses on childhood trauma, domestic violence, that type of trauma, physical and mental abuse. And I did gather and learn and relate to some of the different examples that Dr. Van Der Kolk gives in his book. As you can see, I have like a million tabs in here, and I underlined and highlighted so many things that I found to be enlightening and that opened my eyes to see and understand how trauma can affect the everyday person that may not even think they are affected by trauma. So, eye-opening book, very good read if you're into nonfiction and, you know, into studying the mind and psychology and things of that nature. So it was 5 out of 5 stars for me. And then the last book I want to talk about is called Unfuck Yourself by Gary John Bishop. And this is a self-help novel that centers on helping you to learn how to consciously speak positively into your life versus speaking negatively. I don't read a lot of self-help books, so the information and the techniques that Gary John Bishop goes over in his books, this book in particular was enlightening, and I did learn how our thinking definitely is the culprit a lot of times with how we either tend to move forward in life or not. So this book starts off very strong. It is very in your face. He is very unapologetic. There is cussing in this book, obviously. I mean, if you look at the title, he wastes no time getting to the point of what he's trying to say. So overall, it was a pretty good book to, I guess, help kick you in the butt to move forward and get ahead in life. So that is my November wrap up. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video, for watching it all the way through. If you have, what was your favorite book in November that you read? Or have you read any of the books that I've talked about and want to talk about them with me in the comments below? Let me know. Again, thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.